The courtroom was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Maria sat on the wooden bench, her hands locked in cold metal handcuffs. Her fingers shook. Her eyes were red from crying. She stared down at the floor, afraid to look up at anyone. Behind her, sitting in the fancy seats, was the Richmond family. Mr. Richmond wore an expensive black suit. His face looked angry and disappointed. Mrs. Richmond sat beside him with her arms crossed, shaking her head. Their faces said one thing: how could you betray us? But there was one person in that room whose face looked different. Little Emma Richmond. She was only 7 years old. Her blonde curls bounced as she turned her head left and right, trying to understand what was happening. Emma's big blue eyes filled with tears. She didn't understand why Maria, her Maria, was sitting there in chains like a bad person. Maria wasn't bad. Maria was a woman who tucked her into bed every night. Maria sang her lullabies when she had nightmares. Maria made her favorite pancakes shaped like hearts. Maria wiped her tears when she fell off her bike. So, why was everyone treating Maria like a criminal? Order in the court, the judge's deep voice boomed. Everyone sat up straight. The judge was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He wore long black robes and looked like someone you should never lie to. The prosecutor stood up. His name was Mr. Daniels, and he looked very sure of himself. He smiled a little smile, the kind of smile people make when they think they've already won. Your Honor, Mr. Daniels began, walking slowly across the room. The evidence is clear. Maria Gonzalez stole a diamond necklace worth $50,000 from the Richmond family. She hid it in her bag. She lied about it, and now she must face justice. Maria's shoulders began to shake. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she didn't make a sound. Emma felt her chest get tight. She wanted to scream. No, Maria would never do that. But her father had told her to sit still and be quiet. The grown-ups will handle this, he had said. Mr. Daniels walked over to the table and picked up a plastic bag. Inside the bag was a beautiful sparkling necklace. It glittered under the courtroom lights like 1,000 tiny stars. This necklace, Mr. Daniels said loudly, holding it up for everyone to see, was found hidden in Maria's personal belongings. She claimed she didn't know how it got there. But we all know the truth, don't we? Some people in the courtroom nodded. Others whispered to each other. Maria finally lifted her head. Her voice was soft and broken. I didn't take it. Please believe me. I would never. Silence. Mr. Daniels snapped. You had your chance to tell the truth, and you didn't. You've been lying for months. Emma's hands squeezed into tiny fists. Her heart pounded in her chest. Something felt very, very wrong. The prosecutor continued. Maria Gonzalez has worked for the Richmond family for 5 years. They trusted her. They gave her a home. They treated her like family. And how did she repay them? By stealing their most valuable possession. Mr. Richmond nodded slowly. His wife looked away, as if she couldn't even stand to see Maria anymore. But Emma couldn't stop staring at Maria. She saw something in Maria's eyes, something that made her think of all the times Maria held her hand and told her, always tell the truth, me Nina, even when it's hard. If Maria always told Emma to tell the truth, why would Maria lie now? Mr. Daniels walked back to his desk and picked up another piece of paper. We also found this, a bag packed with clothes and money hidden under Maria's bed. She was planning to run away. More gasps filled the courtroom. Maria shook her head. No, that's not what. Enough, the judge said firmly. Ms. Gonzalez, you will have your chance to speak. But right now, I need to hear all the evidence. Maria's lawyer, a tired-looking man with glasses, stood up. Your Honor, my client insists she is innocent. Yes, the necklace was found in her bag, but she has no memory of putting it there. Someone could have planted it. Mr. Daniels laughed. Planted it? Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt to avoid responsibility. The evidence speaks for itself. The judge looked down at his papers. He looked tired, like he'd heard too many lies in his life. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before I make my decision? The room was silent. Emma looked at her father. She looked at her mother. She looked at Maria, whose tears were now falling freely. And then Emma looked at someone else. Mr. Stevens. He was sitting in the back row, dressed in a nice gray suit. He was the Richmond family's accountant. He handled all their money and important papers. He looked calm, too calm. His hands were folded in his lap, and he wasn't looking at anyone. But Emma remembered something important, something that made her stomach twist into knots. She remembered 3 weeks ago, when she'd gone downstairs late at night to get a glass of water. She'd seen Mr. Stevens in her mother's room. He was holding something shiny, and when he saw Emma, he put his finger to his lips and whispered, "Shh, don't tell anyone, okay? This is our little secret." Emma had nodded because grown-ups always said things like that. But now, looking at Maria's tears, looking at the handcuffs, looking at the necklace in the plastic bag, Emma understood. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a secret to keep. It was a lie. The judge cleared his throat. "Very well. Based on the evidence presented, I am prepared to—" "Wait!" Everyone's head turned. Emma had jumped to her feet. Her voice was small but strong. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. "Wait!" she said again, louder this time. "You can't punish Maria." Mr. Richmond grabbed her arm gently. "Emma, sit down. This isn't—" "No, Daddy." Emma pulled away. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice didn't shake. Maria didn't do it. The entire courtroom stared at her. The judge leaned forward. "Young lady, this is a court of law. You can't just—" "I know who did it," Emma shouted. The room exploded into whispers. Mr. Daniels rolled his eyes. "Your Honor, this is clearly a child trying to protect someone she cares about. We can't." "Let her speak," the judge said firmly. His eyes were fixed on Emma now. "Little girl, do you have something important to say?" Emma's knees felt like jelly. Her whole body was shaking. But she thought about Maria's voice in her head. "Always tell the truth, me Nina, even when it's hard." Emma took a deep breath. She turned around, and she pointed directly at Mr. Stevens. "He did it," Emma said. Mr. Stevens took the necklace. The courtroom went completely silent. Mr. Stevens' face turned white, and that's when everything changed. Every single person in the courtroom turned to look at Mr. Stevens. His face had gone from white to red. Sweat appeared on his forehead. His hands, which had been so calm before, now gripped the edge of the bench. That's ridiculous," Mr. Stevens said, his voice shaking. "Your Honor, this child doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just trying to save her nanny." But Emma didn't back down. Her small hand stayed pointed at him like an arrow. "I saw you," she said. Her voice was stronger now. "3 weeks ago, late at night, you were in Mommy's bedroom. You took the shiny necklace from her jewelry box." Mrs. Richmond gasped and covered her mouth. Mr. Richmond stood up. "Emma, you sure about this?" Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Daddy. I went downstairs to get water. I saw him. He told me not to tell anyone. He said it was our secret." The judge banged his wooden hammer on the desk. "Order. Everyone sit down." Mr. Stevens jumped to his feet. "This is insane. I would never—" "Sit down, Mr. Stevens," the judge said coldly. His voice was like ice. "We will get to the bottom of this." Mr. Stevens sat, but his whole body was shaking now. The judge looked at Emma. "Young lady, come forward, please." Emma's legs felt wobbly, but she walked to the front of the courtroom. Her father came with her, his hand on her shoulder. The judge's face was serious, but his eyes were kind. "Emma, do you understand how important it is to tell the truth?" "Yes, sir," Emma whispered. "And you're telling me you saw Mr. Stevens take the necklace?" "Yes, sir. I saw him holding it. It was sparkly and beautiful. He put it in his pocket." "And what did he say to you?" Emma's voice got quieter. "He smiled at me. He said, 'Don't tell anyone, Emma. This is our little secret. If you tell, you'll get in big trouble.' I got scared, so I didn't say anything." The courtroom erupted in angry whispers. "That's manipulation," someone shouted. "He threatened a child." The judge banged his hammer again. "Quiet." Mr. Stevens was on his feet again, his face twisted with panic. She's lying. She's making this up. Your Honor, you can't believe a child over a professional accountant. But the judge wasn't looking at Mr. Stevens anymore. He was looking at Maria. Maria was crying, but her eyes were wide with hope for the first time in months. The judge turned to Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens, did you have access to the Richmond household? Mr. Stevens swallowed hard. Well, yes, but I'm their accountant. I need access to... And did you ever go into Mrs. Richmond's bedroom? Sometimes I had to deliver important papers to... Answer yes or no. Mr. Stevens' mouth opened and closed like a fish. Yes. The judge turned to Mr. Daniels. Prosecutor, did you investigate Mr. Stevens as a possible suspect? Mr. Daniels looked uncomfortable. Well, no, Your Honor. The evidence clearly pointed to. So you didn't even consider other possibilities? The judge's voice was sharp now, angry. Mr. Daniels said nothing. The judge looked at Mr. Stevens again. Mr. Stevens, I'm going to ask you one more time. Did you take that necklace? No, absolutely not. But his voice cracked when he said it, and everyone noticed. Emma spoke up again, her voice clear and brave. He did it. I know he did. Maria would never steal. She loves us. She loves me. Mr. Stevens' face crumbled. His hands were shaking so badly now that everyone could see. Sweat was pouring down his face. This is absurd, he muttered. This is... But then something happened. Something no one expected. Mr. Stevens started crying. Not gentle tears. Big, ugly sobs that shook his whole body. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge leaned forward. Are you confessing, Mrs. Stevens? Mr. Stevens buried his face in his hands. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I needed the money. I made some bad investments. I owed people, dangerous people. Everyone gasped. So you stole the necklace? The judge asked. Yes, Mr. Stevens whispered. I took it. I was going to sell it and pay off my debts. But then Mrs. Richmond noticed it was missing, and I panicked. I put it in Maria's bag. I planted the evidence. I thought no one would question it. She's just a maid, I thought. No one would believe her over me. Mr. Richmond's face turned red with rage. How could you? Mrs. Richmond was crying now, too. But Emma was looking at Maria, and Maria was looking back at her, with tears of relief streaming down her face. The judge stood up. His voice filled the entire room. Officer, remove Mr. Stevens' restraints from Ms. Gonzalez immediately and place them on Mr. Stevens. A police officer rushed over to Maria. The sound of the handcuffs clicking open was the most beautiful sound Emma had ever heard. Maria rubbed her wrists, staring at her free hands like she couldn't believe it was real. The same officer walked over to Mr. Stevens. Stand up, sir. Mr. Stevens didn't resist. He looked defeated, broken. The officer put the handcuffs on him and led him toward the door. As he passed Emma, Mr. Stevens stopped. I'm sorry, he said to her. I should never put you in that position. Emma just stared at him. She didn't say anything. When Mr. Stevens was gone, the judge turned to Maria. Ms. Gonzalez, on behalf of this court, I apologize for the injustice you have suffered. You are completely free to go. Maria couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears falling like rain. Then Mr. Richmond did something that shocked everyone. He walked over to Maria, and he got down on his knees. Maria, he said, his voice breaking, I am so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have trusted you. You've been with our family for 5 years. You've loved our daughter like she was your own. And I condemned you without even giving you a chance. Maria looked down at him, her eyes full of pain and forgiveness all mixed together. Please, Mr. Richmond said, please forgive me. Maria's lips trembled. Then quietly she said, I forgive you. Mrs. Richmond came over too, crying, We're so sorry, Maria. So sorry. But Emma didn't wait for the adults to finish talking. She ran across the courtroom and threw her arms around Maria's waist. I knew you didn't do it. Emma cried. I knew it. Maria dropped her knees and hugged Emma so tight. They cried together, holding each other like they would never let go. Thank you, Nina, Maria whispered. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for telling the truth. The judge watched the scene with wet eyes. Then he spoke, his voice gentle but powerful. Let this be a lesson to everyone in this room, he said. Truth has no age. Justice has no size. This little girl showed more courage and integrity than most adults ever will. She reminded us that love is stronger than fear, and that honesty is more valuable than gold. The whole courtroom began to clap, slowly at first, then louder and louder until the sound filled every corner of the room. Maria held Emma close. Finally free, finally believed, finally home. The clapping slowly stopped, but the feeling in the courtroom had completely changed. It was like the sun had come out after a terrible storm. People were smiling. Some were wiping away tears. Even the police officer standing by the door had a gentle look on his face. Maria still held Emma close. She didn't want to let go. For months, she had been alone in a dark cell, wondering if anyone would ever believe her. Now, here in this courtroom, surrounded by people who finally knew the truth, she felt like she could breathe again. The judge cleared his throat. Ms. Gonzalez, would you like to say anything? Maria slowly stood up, keeping Emma's hand in hers. Her legs still felt weak, but her voice was steady. Thank you, Your Honor, she said softly. For many months, I sat in that cold jail cell. I was scared. I was hurt. People called me a thief and a liar. But I knew something that kept me strong. Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward to listen. I knew the truth, Maria continued. My mother used to tell me, Maria, when you've done nothing wrong, you must hold your head high. The truth is like the sun. You can cover for a while, but it will always shine through. The judge nodded slowly. Maria looked at Mr. and Mrs. Richmond. I never fought back because I believed that truth would win. I believe that God sees everything, even when people don't. And I believe that love is stronger than lies. Mrs. Richmond was crying again, but this time they were different tears. Not tears of anger, but tears of shame and understanding. Maria turned to Emma and knelt down to her level. And this brave little girl reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest voice can speak the loudest truth. Emma hugged her again. I love you, Maria. I love you too, Nina, more than you will ever know. The police officer who had arrested Maria months ago stepped forward. His name was Officer Reynolds, and he looked uncomfortable. Ms. Gonzalez, he said, his voice rough, I owe you an apology, too. I should have investigated more carefully. I should have asked more questions. Instead, I assumed the evidence was right. I'm sorry. Maria looked at him with kind eyes. You were doing your job. I don't blame you. But I should have done it better, Officer Reynolds said. You taught me something today. You taught me that evidence can lie, but character doesn't. Anyone who watched you with that little girl should have known you could never steal. Mr. Richmond stepped forward again. His eyes were red from crying. Maria, I need you to understand something. When I thought you stole from us, I felt betrayed. But now I realize the real betrayal was mine. I betrayed your loyalty. I betrayed your trust. You gave us 5 years of love, and I gave you handcuffs. He pulled out his wallet and took out a thick envelope. This is 5 years of back pay with interest and a bonus for everything you've suffered. It's not enough. Nothing will ever be enough. But please take it. Maria stared at the envelope. She had never seen so much money in her life. I don't want your money, Mr. Richmond, she said quietly. Everyone gasped. I just want my dignity back, Maria said. I want people to know I didn't steal. That's worth more than any money. Mr. Richmond's face crumbled. You already have that. Everyone here knows the truth now. But please, take this anyway. You earned it. You deserve it. And we were hoping, maybe even come back. Come back home. Emma needs you. We need you. Emma's eyes lit up. Please, Maria. Please come home. Maria looked down at the little girl who had saved her life. The little girl who had been brave, when adults were cowards. The little girl who loved her more than anything. Me, Nina, Maria said gently. Let me think about it, okay? I need a little time. Emma nodded, even though she looked sad. The judge spoke again. Before we close this hearing, I want to say something to young Emma Richmond. Emma looked up at the judge nervously. The judge smiled at her. It was the first time anyone had seen him smile all day. Young lady, you did something today that most people can't do. You told the truth even when it was scary. You stood up for someone you love even when powerful people told you to sit down. Do you know why you were able to do that? Emma shook her head. Because you have something that many adults lose as they grow up. The judge said, you have a pure heart. You haven't learned to lie to yourself yet. You haven't learned to ignore what's right just because it's uncomfortable. Don't ever lose that, Emma. Promise me. I promise, Emma said in a small voice. The judge looked around the courtroom. Let me tell you all something. This child just taught us the most important lesson about justice. Real justice isn't about evidence alone. It's about truth. And truth doesn't care how old you are or how much money you have or what title you carry. Truth just is. He paused, letting his words sink in. Emma said something beautiful when I asked her why she spoke up. She said, my mommy always told me that lies hurt more people than they save. Those are wise words. Words everyone should remember, Mrs. Richmond whispered. I did tell her that when she was 5. Well, the judge said, your daughter listened, and because she listened, an innocent woman is free today. That's the power of teaching children to value truth above everything else. A reporter in the back of the courtroom raised his hand. Your Honor, may I ask Ms. Gonzalez a question? The judge nodded. The reporter stood up. Ms. Gonzalez, where did you find the strength to stay silent for so long? Most people would have screamed, fought back, demanded justice. But you just waited. Maria smiled sadly. I come from a small village in Mexico. I lost my parents when I was young. I had nothing. No money. No education. No future. I came to America with only hope in my heart and prayers on my lips. Her voice grew stronger. When the Richmond family gave me a job, I thought my prayers were answered. I had food, a bed, and then I met Emma, this beautiful little girl who needed love. I raised her like she was my own daughter because I had no children. She was my purpose, my joy. Maria's eyes filled with fresh tears. When they accused me of stealing, I wanted to scream, but I remembered my mother's words. She said, when you fight in anger, you lose yourself. When you wait with dignity, you keep your soul. So I waited, I prayed, I believed, and your faith was rewarded, the reporter said softly. My faith was tested. Maria corrected him. But yes, God sent me an angel, a 7-year-old angel named Emma. The whole courtroom was silent, except for the sound of people wiping their eyes. Emma tugged on Maria's dress. Maria, can I tell everyone something? Of course, me Nina. Emma looked around at all the grown-ups. I was really scared to tell the truth. Mr. Stevens said I'd get in trouble, and Daddy told me to sit still and be quiet. But then I remembered something Maria always tells me. What's that? The judge asked. She says, courage is not about being unafraid. Courage is about doing what's right even when you're shaking. So even though I was shaking really, really bad, I did it anyway. Maria hugged her again, crying and laughing at the same time. You did, my brave girl. You did. The judge stood up. This court is adjourned. Ms. Gonzalez, you are free to go. Mr. Stevens will face charges for theft, fraud, and obstruction of justice. And to everyone here today, remember what you witnessed. Remember that truth, no matter how small the voice that speaks it, will always defeat lies. Remember that forgiveness heals more wounds than revenge ever could. And remember that pure love, like the love between this woman and this child, is more powerful than pride, money, or fear. He banged his wooden hammer one final time. Case dismissed. As people started to leave, Maria and Emma walked out together, hand in hand. Cameras flashed. Reporters called out questions, but they didn't care. Mr. and Mrs. Richmond walked beside them, giving them space but staying close, like they were afraid Maria might disappear again. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining bright. Maria closed her eyes and felt its warmth on her face. Freedom. It felt like being born again. Maria, Emma said, tugging her hand, "Will you really come back home?" Maria looked down at those hopeful blue eyes. She thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the fear, the injustice, but also the love, the courage, the truth. "Yes, menina," Maria said finally, smiling through her tears. "I'll come home, because home isn't a place. Home is where love lives. And my love lives with you." Emma jumped up and down with joy. "Yay! We can make heart-shaped pancakes again." Maria laughed, a real, full, beautiful laugh. "Yes, we can make heart-shaped pancakes again." And as they walked into the sunshine together, everyone who saw them knew they were watching something special. Not just a story about justice being served or an innocent person going free. They were watching proof that truth can shine through the darkest lies, that courage can live in the smallest hearts, that forgiveness can heal the deepest wounds, and that love, pure, honest, unconditional love, is the most powerful force in the world. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that truth always wins. Subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of courage, love, and doing what's right, even when it's hard, because sometimes the smallest voice can change everything.